I'll be reading from, it is not nearly as long as the page looks. So we'll leave plenty of time at the end for you all to ask questions, and if you all don't ask questions, I will vamp from my 2 pages of frequently asked questions. Please don't make me do that. Have questions. Everybody will be more entertained for it. So as we get started, I'd just like to ask all of the panelists to take one quick moment to introduce yourselves. So what I want is your name, which club you are representing today, and your leadership role within that club. 3 pieces.
Any particular direction you start from? Okay, well, I didn't want to assume. My name is Chris Talbott. I am representing the Rebel Legion here in North Texas, and my role is as regional captain. So here in the North Texas region, I am the local leader, as you will. And in the back is Mr. Brian Chandler, who is the overall Kessel Base leader for Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas.
I am David Wilson. I represent the Dark Empire. I am the Masari for the Dark Empire, which means I'm the membership officer and also over the Inquisitors, which do the costume judging. I am also the Cedrus for Voidstar Spire, which is our local chapter here.
My name is Kelsey Holmes. I am representing the Mando Mercs Costume Club, and I am the Allarad, which is the commanding officer of the North Texas group, which is called Clan Murraan.
My name is Rebecca Price, and I am representing the 501st Legion. I am the North Texas Squad Leader, which is the local leader here in this area for Star Garrison.
Okay, so back down the line, just as a little bit of quick context, how long have each of you been involved in the clubs?
Alright, so I've been involved since about 2017 when my girlfriend joined, and I started handling for her and for other members of the squads here. I personally have been costumed member since 2021. So costuming was my COVID project, and so been involved since then, actively in costuming. So
I've been involved since 2012. Well, I mean, when you're the oldest, it's like, it is. I've been here a while. Like I said, I've been here since 2012. And remember, that's the Dark Empire. And then I joined the Mercs.
Pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID, yeah. Barely.
I have been an approved member for two years this past March, and then I was a handler while I was building my kit almost exactly a year before that, so kind of 3 years.
I first joined in May of 2015.
So we have a couple decade members. So we have some different levels of knowledge about the Star Wars costuming groups in the room. I see some faces I recognize, several faces I don't recognize. So just to help level set everybody's knowledge about the clubs and kind of what we cover, obviously we have 4 different clubs represented here today. Last down the line is, can everybody just say a quick spiel about your club? So again, a couple of pieces of information. I want the costumes you cover with a focus on your unique bits at 45 seconds or less.
Alright, so the Rebel Legion is essentially the good guys of the Star Wars universe. We cover the heroes, the Jedi, the pilots, the senators, and the various heroes in that regard. So, I lost the fox on that, but what was the other thing you wanted me to say?
No, you got it.
I got it.
The Dark Empire, while we do take canon characters, our bread and butter is custom characters, and under that we have 2 sections. One is the Order of Dramakas. That's our Force wielders. That's custom Sith, custom Dark Jedis, witches, the Sisters of Dathomir we're starting to work on those. The other group is the Sins of Korriban. Those are our custom bounty hunters that are non-Mandalorian, smugglers, pirates, basically the scum of the universe that help the Sith and Dark Jedis take over.
The Mando Mercs are the Mandalorians, but we do the canon, so like Boba Fett, Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, but the big draw for our group is that we allow custom characters, and usually we have armor, but we do also allow some of the like soft kit canon characters like Satine and the civilian Mandalorians that you see in the show.
The 501st Legion is bad guys doing good, so we are canon, bad guy, and some morally ambiguous characters. So we are primarily is only costumes that you would see like in either on screen or in a comic book. There has to be actual references. Primarily characters like Darth Vader, Stormtroopers, Darth Maul, but there are some. What I mean by morally ambiguous is some like Tusken Raiders, Jawas, some of the Cantina aliens weren't necessarily bad, weren't necessarily good.
Okay, so the next question, and for pretty much the rest of the panel, we can go out of order, we can skip people, doesn't matter who answers what. So this is obviously a convention. We've seen a ton of costumes here. There's a lot of costumes even just in this room. So why would somebody want to join the Star Wars costuming clubs? What is it that sets what we do apart possibly from making and wearing a costume to a convention like this?
I volunteer as tribute. So one of the reasons that I personally love Star Wars my whole life, I've known about the clubs for a very long time, like when the 501st first was created, but I wasn't able to join until relatively recently in my life. But one of the reasons I wanted to, because I'd only done like closet cosplay before this, like just easy stuff you can do out of your own closet. But the big draw for me was two parts: the charity work we do, like we're all volunteers, and we do, like this weekend we're raising funds for Ronald McDonald House, we do hospital visits, we do community events, we do a lot of charity work. And then the community, like we all have the same passion for that, plus we like Star Wars, and we like to make our cool costumes, so that's why I like it so much.
Okay, I think that for me, some of it is the standard which we hold ourselves for the costuming. We go for screen accuracy, we go for high level of presentation, and that appeals to my desire to do things well and have it look good and be presented well. And so, but also, to echo what Kelsey said, it's the community, it's finding your people. And I'd hang out with these people even if we weren't doing costumes, because I like them all, and we all have that common interest in the Star Wars universe. And so being able to get together and do things with our hands and create these costumes and bring them up to that standard and have them look really good is a strong draw for me personally.
There's a lot of different reasons people join, and most of them are absolutely fantastic. Like their accuracy, we're just interested purely in building. It is a great way to get more reasons to wear a costume besides just cons. Cons are awesome, but it's really cool to be able to look at a calendar and go, wow, there's something every weekend if I want to go do an event and just put on a cool costume.
Halloween is every month.
Yeah, Halloween is every weekend when you do this, especially here in North Texas, we have a lot of events. For me, personally, it is the charity aspect and then mainly the community aspect. Finding your people, getting along with them, having it. It's a lot of fun.
And I think you guys pretty much mostly answered our next question too, but just in case this brings up another thought, we get to do a ton of cool stuff, but this is also, I think everybody would agree, a lot of work. We love it, but it's a lot of work. So you guys talked kind of about what made you stay and what made you join, but is there anything else that comes to mind, like that contrast, like what attracted you to the groups to start with, but now why you stick around? And it's okay if that's completely the same as we already answered.
I think the best answer to that is actually the community. that. But we also, we try to have like a monthly just get together. So we do, and it's just to hang out and stuff. And it's, you know, these are all our friends, and we get to hang out with each other and talk Star Wars, and you know, we're there for each other and support each other when, you know, life happens.
One of the things that really sticks with me when I do these events is, like I said, like there's, especially in our busy season, like there's at least something going, like at least one thing going on every weekend. But Star Wars is a multi-generational interest. Like all ages have at least one little thing that they really like about Star Wars. And when you're in your costume and you're at an event and a whole family comes up to you, you can see their expression. And sometimes it's just the adult, sometimes it's just the kid, but that full range is just, it's amazing because you're bringing this pure joy to someone's day. And that just means a lot. And I remember every single kid that runs up to me and gives me a hug. Like it means a lot to me. So that's one of the reasons like I just keep doing it, and I will continue to do so.
And I think somewhat on that, from my end, is that I'm fairly advanced in years, a grown-ass adult, if you will, and I get to play dress up. And not only do I get to do it, but you know, I have other people who do it with me, and so it lets me let that 11-year-old kid out of me, you know, that loved Star Wars and you know, wanted to live in that world. And I think when we have folks come up, like Kelsey said, different families, different generations, the adults are the ones that I find are my ones that I remember when I capture them, because you know, they look at us and they go, oh, and they get to be their 11-year-old. And that really works.
So one of my favorite memories from trooping is when we did a military base event, and having so many female military officers come up and tell me that they wish they were an Imperial officer because our uniforms look so much cooler than theirs. And then having a family, kind of like you said, it's generational, having a dad like clearly dressed to the nines, clearly came from a family photo shoot, shoo his younger daughter out of the photo because it was daddy's turn to have a picture with the stormtroopers. So with that kind of thing in mind, I think we all have those moments that stick with us. What are some of your favorite memories from a troop, or like the most impactful moment that you've been a part of? Whether you want to go serious or silly, or just like what sticks with you? I think we sometimes lose some of the stories.
There's so many. I mean, I've been doing this 10 years. That's a long time, and I do this a lot. And I will say, we mentioned a lot about that we do this a lot of every weekend. That's mostly because it's club leaders, and also all of us are just insane. If you do join, you are only required to do one event a year. I don't want someone to sit out here and listen to this and think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be up every weekend forever. No. You're good. You can do way less. That being said, back to the question. There are a lot, and one really cool one that I got to do was actually last weekend. Weird Al was in town, and as a child, I have photos of myself of about 6 years old wearing paper stormtrooper armor, and so to get to put real armor on and be up on stage with someone who impacted my childhood all along, and I listened to his songs all growing up, is an amazing experience. And that kind of thing is awesome. It is few and far between, but there are so many great moments, like you said, with the officers. Or one of my favorite moments that I'll never forget is being in the ICU at Children's Medical Plano and saying hi to a child in the hospital, and the child laying in a hospital bed going, "This is the greatest day of my life," when they saw Darth Vader walk in. Like, to bring that to someone who's in that situation is amazing. It's an experience that you don't get in a lot of places.
One that comes to mind is, it was actually my very first charity troop. I actually got to do a Make-A-Wish. and actually get to see that, and you know, the expressions of these kids, and when they get to see the Star Wars characters, and we were actually, they were getting the gift of getting to go to Disney, so that was really cool, and to send a kid off like that.
One of mine was my first year. It was in that fall, and we were doing Cowtown. And I had been in this costume all day, and it was I think it was that Sunday night, end of the day. I'd been wearing this all day, and this family, so mom, dad, and they had 3 young girls, all under the age of 10, and then they had a baby. And the family was very excited. I was like one of the last ones standing because it was the end of the day. I was the only Mando left. And they were like, can we get a photo? Yes, perfect, wonderful. The little girls were just having a blast. And before I knew it, the mom had handed me her infant. And I was just like, thankfully I had the helmet on, so they didn't see the shock on my face. Because usually we decline that offer because we don't want to accidentally drop the baby. But it was already in my arms, and I was just like, okay, great. So got a photo with the baby. And then after safely returning it to parents' arms, each one of those little girls like gave me a hug, and then just like stayed around to chat for a little bit. And like I said, they were all under 10, and it was really awesome. Like being a good influence and showing them different ways they can explore their creativity was really awesome.
I'll end with a slightly lighter one. The past couple of years, we've been invited out to the DFW airport for May 4th, and I had the privilege to handle for both of those that we've done so far, or all 3 of them at this point. But I don't know that I'll find many cooler events in life than being on the tarmac at the DFW airport watching Darth Vader marshal in a 737 with his lightsaber.
That is pretty cool. So with a bit of a pivot, I think we get asked pretty often how we get to this point, right? People see the full set of armor, they see the full costume, and they don't necessarily know where to start. So what are some of the skills that it takes to put these costumes together, and what didn't you know when you first started?
I knew nothing. Yeah, literally, my first costume was a custom Dark Jedi. It actually started off as one of these Halloween Anakin costumes. It's like, hey, my kids are young, we were doing Star Wars things, so I did that, and I kind of just started tinkering around with it. It's like, hey, what if I made my own version, something like that, and I ran into these guys at a con in my, very, it's Halloween's, costume quality and stuff, and started learning more, and it's like, okay, I can do this. My wife knows a little bit about sewing. She can help me, figure this thing out, and I literally kind of sketched out what I thought this person would look like, and, a little backstory just to help develop it. But it's literally, at that point, I bought some of my things. I bought a tunic, I bought, pants that fit in the universe. I found some, boots that would work, and that's how I started. So now, when it came to my Mandalorian, it took me probably about a year to do my Dark Jedi because I was just, figuring it out and stuff. Now, my Mandalorian, it took me probably 2 years to build because on and off, I was in leadership already in the Dark Empire and stuff, but it was learning how do I, shape the armor here. What do I do for, the piece that holds the armor on and stuff, and then teaching me this is what you do, and learning how to sew and stuff like that. But you don't have to know these skills. You can learn from people who will teach you. There's resources out there to buy some stuff.
So I think, for me, the only skill that I would think you need to have is a desire to learn. That's it. We can teach everything else. And I know I personally host almost a third of our armor parties that we have for the Rebel and 501st Legion. I have a good garage, I've got a bunch of tools, and I've got a part of me that wants to help people. so if I know something, I'm happy to help you. If I don't, I can help you find out. There are other people at the party who probably already know how to do something, and so we share our skills to bring everybody up and make sure that if someone wants to join us, we're doing what we can to make sure that we can get them in there and get them productive. We had one guy, one of our stormtroopers, did a fantastic kit, and we had another guy who was starting a kit and he was about to give up on it. And Matt took him aside and said, "Hey, I will help build this with you." And so they got together and piece by piece, part by part, and Warren ended up with a great kit. So if you're willing to stick with it, we're willing to stick with you. So.
I definitely did not come into it with any skills at all. Maybe some basic painting, but nothing that would have, the thing that was as far as actually building armor stuff. And getting what we call Big Brown Box Day. If you do a hard armor costume like a stormtrooper, for example, that's what they call it. You get a giant brown box full of pieces, and it is incredibly imposing. You open that up and you go, "What did I get myself into?" We will help you. There are a lot of resources, there's lots of research online, and throughout the process I learned a lot. I've learned how to make snaps, how to, some basic things with sewing. I learned a little bit of sewing as a kid, but that is not my skill still. Maybe eventually I'll get to that. Right now I'm mostly people to help me with it, which is fine. There are people who will help you. You can trade resources, you can pay someone. Heat forming, like Kelsey mentioned, I've learned how to do that, how to cut, how to shape. As long as you've got the willingness to learn, then we'll help you.
Yeah, along that with, talking about, resources and, buying stuff like that, it helps when you are in a community to tell you who, if you want Stormtrooper armor, they can tell you who the best people to go to get that. That way you don't just go, "Oh, I found this guy on the internet and I'm gonna buy this armor," and you never see it. So we kind of can help you through that process.
One of the most terrible things about Brown Box Day is the fear of the first cut. We can help you get over that.
It's terrifying. I've built 3 of those kits now, and it gets better.
So, as somebody who made their first cut last night, it's terrifying. I feel like I didn't sleep well last night. Yeah, because I cut it. So I have a list of questions here, as I said, that I can continue to keep asking, but I do want to pause and turn this over to you all. What questions do you have for us? And if there are none, I will go through my questions, but I want to make sure, I will take up this full hour. But truly, what questions do you have? We've given you a brief overview of who we are and what we do. What's left? What do you want to know?
So it's a bit of a random question for our commander representative, but shoulder-mounted cannons, I couldn't see too much about that in the cigar realms. Where does that fit into it? I know it works with the modern cannon stuff, but some late legends stuff.
So that's something that, one, you're going to need to join the forums. Okay, perfect. Okay, you're going to need to get in touch with your local clan. So find out who they are. And then you're going to look for somebody whose title is Rusalor Solish, and you are going to ask them all the questions.
What does that look like? Last year in Matthew, he's a big guy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So you're North Texas?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So right now, his name on the form is Lord Griffin. He is here this weekend, so you can swing by and ask. But for a piece like that, you would just need to work very closely with your Bruce team. So like there's the Bruce Lord Solish, which is Armor Sergeant. And then they have people that work under them that are they're just called Bruce Lords. So we'll call it the Bruce team. And they are the ones that specialize in helping you build stuff and make sure that it is CRL compliant. CRL is in the costume regulations list, which is like the little tick marks of like you've got to do X, Y, Z. Yeah. And so I would suggest get on the forum, get in touch with them, we're here this weekend, so you can swing by and ask questions. And then for that one, they'll probably be able to answer your questions, but if they don't know the answer, they will find out, or one of the options that they may point you to is ask, we have a Q&A team on the forum that for those unique questions, they'll be like, post this question there, because it's a special team that looks at those unique requests and will say like, yeah, that could work, or no, not really. So that's your first step, get in touch with the local plan and get on the forum.
Yeah, what other questions do we have? Yes.
I've heard mention of like the use of Centra with kids and vacuum form kits. What are y'all's opinion of like using 3D printed parts or 3D printers in the hobby? I've heard mixed.
Here, I'm a visual example. So 3D print, 3D print, 3D print, 3D print. This is Centra, which is expanded PVC, which is heat moldable plastic. You can form it with a heat gun, with boiling water, which is one of my favorite ways because you can do smaller sections. Or you can do an oven, but you need to do it in like an outdoor microwave oven because the fumes are toxic. Toaster oven, thank you. Toaster oven, thank you.
Don't microwave your Centra.
Oh yeah, that might be bad. No, toaster oven, that works. When you said that.
No, I think that releases chlorine gas, so maybe don't do that. Don't laser cut your Centra either, that also releases chlorine gas.
But in general, especially for things like Stormtrooper armor, vacuum formed ABS is kind of the gold standard for a lot of the Mandalorian armor. Centra is very popular for molding the armor plates. 3D printing has really changed the game a lot in this sort of hobby, and a lot of things can be 3D printed, a lot of things are 3D printed. The only real watchwords on that is that it's going to have to have the right look. In other words, it's going to need to be smooth.
Yes.
No sand, no print lines, sand and fill, sand and fill, sand and fill until you're tired of sanding and then sand some more, sort of thing. So I mean, because you're going for that glass-like finish, that very smooth sort of thing. And the nice thing about vacuum formed ABS is you get that for free. It's part of the process. You don't have to do anything else. It's perfect as is. So to get that same sort of look out of 3D printing does take a lot of effort. But it's more accessible to folks, to have a 3D printer, print a bunch of filament, print those parts out, and be a little more independent on, and less dependent upon a vendor and their provenance of their various armor forms and molds. And so, but we're seeing a lot more of it, and it is certainly a valid way of going about it. Again, as long as you achieve that same finish, and achieve that look, it is going to pass the standard.
So I know you guys do like meetups and charity work and conventions. Do you guys ever do like maybe full-scale battle reenactments or any like saber fighting, moments?
I thought I was going to escape this one. So there is a local group called Saber Guild. So I'm the local director for that. Yes to saber fighting with the caveat that everything we do is choreographed. So there is nothing live about it. It is full speed, it is full contact, and it is a workout. But you know exactly what is coming at your face before it comes at your face, and that is by charter and insurance requirements. We're the only club that carries insurance. So that's one of those where if literally we ever see you at an event or at a rehearsal swinging something that's not called, that's grounds for removal from the club. Like that's one of our biggest charter violations. That said, yes, Saber Guild would be the group that is reenacting or creating custom choreography for lightsaber battles. Thank you, Becca. So we're actually about to do the big fight from the Phantom Menace here in 2 weeks for the shield lighting of FC Dallas. So we've been working for almost 6 months to get 3 people and 3 understudies prepared to do as much of that fight as possible without stunt lines. So we've cut pieces. We're not kicking anybody off of a multi-story reactor walkway. I know. Darn.
But Phil's got his broom and his
I
base
know,
camp
Phil's
ready.
so ready. But that would be the group to look at for lightsabers. For like larger scale battles, no, none of the clubs tend to go towards anything formal, though we'll probably joke around with some really incredible TIE Fighter and X-Wing battles using your arms this year at some of our events. Of course. Other questions? Sure.
So I've been asking around a lot, I've got a printed piece in front of me, I'm trying to get these Saber, and I've been told PLA doesn't stand well, and that it's pretty matchy. What is your helmet printed?
So I'm a little unique because I'm one of the few locals that uses ASA. That is to keep it simple, it's the next generation of ABS. The reason we did ASA is because it has an incredibly high melting point, and we live in Texas. And even though I will do my very best to never leave this in my car, the accidents happen, like emergencies happen. Like in Texas heat, Sintra will melt and it will flatten. So you'll lose all your work, but with ASA, that is something I don't need to be concerned about.
You can use PLA. My son, Mando, a lot of his armor is PLA printed. His shins or chemise are 3D printed. His gauntlets are 3D printed, all using PLA. So if you take care of it, it's fine.
So does ASA do better than in general? I assume what it is.
Yeah, like it is more fragile. It's more fragile, but to me, like the high melting point was what I wanted, and it was easy to sand, but like no matter what 3D print filament you're using, like you're gonna be doing a lot of sanding. But it's just like, you can go to different websites and they'll list like the pros and cons of the different filament styles. And it depends on like the infill and all that kind of stuff. But like for my helmet, it's that's the other thing, is that ASA is incredibly light. I have one of the lightest helmets of the local Mercs. But it also, like, we have a smaller printer, so it's actually made of several pieces. The dome itself is 4 pieces. But I reinforced the inside of each seam with fiberglass cloth. And that's something that we would highly recommend for any place, for most materials that are hard that you have a seam. Yes?
Is there any way I can get that printed locally? I used to have a printer, but it is permanently out of commission because I want to keep one.
So on the forum, for the local North Texas Mercs, we have some people that have offered up commissions for printing. So you can find it on there, yeah.
You might also check with like a maker space, or sometimes even libraries, or,
I'm looking at the ATV one, but that's
there's a couple of different maker spaces, I think. I'm not a member of one, so I don't have the info on it, but I know that's an option people
Yeah.
can pursue.
What other questions do we have in the audience? Yeah, in that corner.
The opinion of conversion and use of Black Series helmets in all y'all's sectors.
So most Black Series helmets are not going to end up being improvable. The interesting thing is that Disney can license things that don't have to actually be completely screen accurate. There are several exceptions to that. I know, for example, for Rebel pilots, you can use Black Series Wedge or Luke or Trapper Wolf or Carson Tebow version helmets. There are a couple things you have to do. You have to fill in the little action button on the right cheek. You have to wrap the microphone boom in shrink tubing to get rid of the microphone stand flexi boom on that mic, because it is not accurate to the look. There's a battery door on the back of the Mohawk. You also have to fill that in and then repaint and make everything look good. But so those are approvable that way, and a lot of people do it that way. But like the Stormtrooper helmets, those are all Rogue One style, so they all have the cut-in gills, and that's not going to work for most of our TK standards for CRLs for Stormtrooper helmets. I think maybe some of the Mandalorian helmets might be, but I'll let Kelsey speak to that specifically.
So, because there's a lot of Black Series Mandalorian helmets of various types available right now, and they actually can be used for custom characters, not for the canon characters. But when you do that, you have to take it apart and sand it, because some of them have texturing on them. You have to sand it, and then you have to custom paint it. So, for example, like the Bo-Katan helmet, because I know a lot of people have that one because it went on super sale several times. That one, it can't be used for Bo-Katan, but it can be used for any custom character that wants to use that helmet. But then that's the same for all the Black Series helmets. But, and also like for the sanding example, if you were to use one of the Boba Fett, because he has his dent, the dent does have to be filled in. But you can use UV resin, you can use Mando putty, like any kind of filler you want, epoxy. But you just have to do some extra work to customize it. But yeah, they can be used for custom Mandos.
And the texture on the back of the helmet.
Who knows from experience?
I know from experience. If you want to see the prototype Boba Fett helmet that Hasbro put out, done custom, swing by the Mandalorian Mercs, that is the helmet we use for my son.
You also have an example at the Rebel Legion table of one of the pilot helmets that's been converted in the way I just talked about. So if pilot is your way you're going, and you're interested, swing by and check it out.
What else do we have in the audience?
So less of a question, more of a thank you. So last year we went to a ton of your sessions on baking. And I think there's one in the Bella Lives, walk through that document camera. I think this inspired me to think about doing something. Now the year happened, and stuff happened, and some didn't. So hopefully this is another year of inspiration. And then Mando, remember, end of one of the days last year, you were very gracious. You spent a lot of time talking to us after a very long day. And it's just really nice to, like I said, find people that are the same thing. So just one thing for being here, less of a question, more of hopefully another inspiration, less like here to interact.
And don't feel bad about taking time. All my costumes take a couple of years or more, so it's okay.
So, and if you need any particular boost on what you're doing, and if especially if it's based on anything I might have done last year, please come find me. I'd be happy to talk to you, happy to help get you, motivation or specific help on that. So, I did those last year, perhaps hastily in signing up for them. I did like 7 of them. You will note that I have none of them on the schedule this year. But, thank you for your words. I appreciate that. I appreciate you got something out of those, and maybe I'll be stupid next year. You never know.
Please be stupid.
Derek.
Good.
Oh,
Did I see one back there? Yeah.
I just had a question about visor regulation. So, what kind of visor material would you need?
Was this a Mando specific question because of that? Yeah. I assumed so, but just wanted to check. For the Mercs, it has to be, you can't see your face through it. Obviously at some angles, if you're looking straight at the sun, you might catch the shadow of someone's face, but if straight on, we shouldn't be able to see your face. So mine is literally, I bought a, it's not technically rated for welding, but it's advertised as a welding replacement shield, and it's tinted, and I just bought that and then traced out the visor shape and put it in place. There are a few makers that make custom visors if you want a specific shade. And then we do have a couple of people that have some cool mirror glaze on the visors. But yeah, you can do mirror visors like yours, or you can just do a dark visor. But that's about it. It's just, is it more about the material, or?
Yeah, because mine's kind of flimsy, but I've seen some that have thicker, more plastic.
Yeah. So yeah, it's usually you'll see the find those on Amazon. I haven't tried it myself, but I know that some cosplayers, you can actually dye that because it is plastic, so if you get the synthetic red dye, you can dip dye it. You just have to be careful because it's boiling water and it's plastic and it may work. So just trial and error might happen there. But yeah, it's just, like I said, there are some vendors that will make the mirror kind of different, stuff like that. So, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of options out there.
Yeah. Other questions from our audience?
The specific event that he was referencing is only open to specific characters. So as of recent history, the Mando Mercs have not been invited to that specific event.
Yeah, also, I saw a bunch of you guys in Dallas, birthday.
We will be back this year.
Got there, a couple weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Don't remind me. We have so much left to prepare
The
for.
Phantom Menace.
So since it was touched on, here's a question for everybody. What's the fastest you've ever banged out a costume, and what has taken you the longest to do?
Okay, I'm going after this one because for the past, when was that? Last season, Mando. When Dave Filoni showed up as an X-Wing pilot, I thought, oh, cool, I like that. And then I saw him in the little hangar there with his hat, and you'll see me tomorrow as my smuggler wearing a hat, something like that. I love those style hats. I saw that and it's like, dude, I would like to do that. Well, I am setting a record for me. This year, I'm going to get this pilot, I'm doing Trapper Wolf Cannon pilot, and I started hard, I guess it was Fan Expo, on getting the materials, getting it put together. And my goal is I'm hoping to debut it later this year if the flight suit will become available. That's my main holdup, is I'm waiting on the vendor on the flights. So that's going to be less than 6 months.
Mine is actually the same costume. I bought a Shadow Trooper, which is, as you might not know, is the Stormtrooper but black. Bought a Shadow Trooper kit in 2018, and then did absolutely nothing with it until 2023. And it sat, and I hated myself for not working on it. And after 5 years, I'm like, nope, this is happening. And in about 2 weeks, I threw together an entire Shadow Trooper, got the whole thing approved. Because I was determined to not stop, because I knew if I did, I might not start working on it. So it is both the quickest and slowest build I have done.
Of course, my wife's going to kill me when she sees the bill on this. Because costumes can get expensive, so.
I don't have any examples that are extreme either direction, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this one.
I feel like my range is 3 weeks on the shortest, 3 years on the longest. And like 3 years of almost consistently working with those two mothers. Those were bonkers. So we're coming up on time. So one last quick question for everybody. If someone wanted to get involved, just down the row, how is best to get in touch with each of the clubs?
Since you're here, you can come right down to our booth down there, and we can get you all the info you'll need, especially if you're local. But even if you're not local, if you're from elsewhere, we can get you connected with who you would need. If you don't get a chance to stop by the booth, for my group, I would say go to 501st.com. The number is 501st.com. They'll get you started.
Ours is MandalorianMercs.com. If you forget how to spell it, you can just do MandoMercs.com and it'll redirect you.
Ours is the darkempire.org, or just come down to the table and I get you a business card that has a QR code on the back that takes you to a link tree with all the information, links to different things, plus connections to the other clubs. I'm nice that way.
Ours doesn't.
And to echo what Rebecca said, if you're here, come come see me specifically, because I am actually the recruiting officer for the 501st side, and I am regional captain for the Rebel Legion side. I am the one who's going to send out all the notes when you sign up on our sign-up sheets, or when things come in to us through the 501st via trooper kind of link. So we have sign-up sheets at the table, and you can sign up and give us your email address, and I will send you email that way. We do have the same sort of business card that David just mentioned that TD has. We have one of those for the Legion, and scan a QR code and then take you to our link tree of things for that. Or yeah, just find me personally, and I'd be happy to take your information or get you signed up and go from there and kind of figure out what you're interested in and where you want to go from there.
And I think our folks that were interested in Sabers left, but if anybody else was interested in Saber Guild, look up Saber Guild-Coruscant Temple on Facebook. Every month we have one open rehearsal. They're Monday night, 6:30 to 8:30. We require that you come to a first swing Monday before you come to any of our other practices. It just helps us filter beginners into kind of a single solitary class that can kind of progress as a cohort. So that would be helpful.
And we do have that on our link trees as well, so.
I love you